What a black belt means to me, first of all, is to me my journey begins. First degree black belt is where my journey really has an understanding, because all through the ranks, I had a chance to practice, memorize, and own the material. And I practiced enough over and over and over. At this point in time as a black belt, I'm into ownership. That means the pink slip to every technique I want to own. Okay? As a black belt, I want to own every technique. That means I want to be able to take the technique, modify it, and make it work for me, and then give it back in how I perceive it. From black belt and on, if I don't have confidence in the material that I learned, then I don't own it. That means if I don't feel that I can go out in the street and get attacked and protect myself, then I don't own the material. That means I didn't build my confidence enough in it. All I did is memorize something, but I really don't know it. As a black belt is where I make my foundation solid. I root deep into the ground, so when I do get attacked mentally, verbally, physically, spiritually, I get attacked. They're all different energies that attack you. And if I'm not sure what I'm doing, and if I'm not confident in what I'm doing, I become fearful. I become very fearful. And if I become fearful, what follows the fear is the anger. I start to get angry because I'm afraid. And what follows that anger is I get frustrated because I'm a black belt and I should know how to do this. I should know how to defend myself. And I start beating myself up. Mentally, I start making myself mad. And I get frustrated because I'm, first of all, it's not working for me. That means I really did not own the material. All I did is went and memorized. It's like almost coming to the dojo and you have your book and you memorize the technique as you walk in. So that way when they tell you have it memorized. As a black belt, what it means to me is you should be solid as this wood. You should be solid. Your foundation should be solid. Because if your foundation is not solid, you cannot build on it. It's like building a building on sand. It's not solid. So being a black belt means all the material that you've learned should be solid. You should own it. You should own all the material and know it forward and backwards with my eyes closed without thinking. So when I say taking 5 steps, move, and you go, I said, what are you thinking about? By then, the car just hit you. I said, move, and you went, huh? You went looking at the car as it hit you. You have to be able to make this, when I say fine-tune your senses, you have to really look at what you're seeing. Because again, if you have an opponent in front of you, if you're not really looking, this is when I ask you, in the old training, how I was taught back in the 50s, to look in the center of the chest and to build a square of the 2 shoulders and the 2 hips. And so if I look at the chest and I see this shoulder goes, that means this hand is going forward. And that was great for that era. It worked perfect. But as time went, I realized when I started full contact karate in '73, I realized me looking at the chest did not work when somebody was threatening me. Because when somebody was threatening me, all that emotion start coming up. Okay? That means everything you hide under your bed in your closet comes forward. All your fears, all your frustrations, all your anxieties come up when somebody threatens you. So as a black belt, you have to be able to have somebody in front of you threatening you. If I don't move my head, I'm going to get hit. And if I get hit, I guarantee you're going to only hit me once. Because the next time, I'm really going to move that head out of the way. And I'll be so fast, you won't even see me. That's how fast I'll move. But again, only when you're threatened this happens. As a black belt, you should be able to feel comfortable when there's a threat in front of you. Because again, your power is your knowledge, your understanding. There's your power. That's how you know. It's how do you know? It's, I know. Well, how do you know? I know. That knowing, there's power in it. As a black belt, you need. How many here have given your power away once upon a time to somebody? You know what that means? Giving your power away? Giving your power away means, well, I wasn't sure, so I just gave it to him. How many here asked, maybe in school somebody wanted your milk money and said, give me your milk money. And some of you just end up giving up because you were afraid, and you end up giving them the milk money. And some of you said, I didn't have milk money. So the point I'm making is, at the time when there's a threat in front of you, everything that we hide comes forward. As the black belt, you should not be afraid. You should not be afraid to speak your truth. You should not be afraid. Okay? Because again, how many of you, what is the right thing to do? If you see somebody hurt out there, do we step over them because it's none of our business? Or we help? Or we see somebody in danger out there, what do? We turn our back, act like it doesn't matter, or we call somebody and we call for help. Doing the right thing as a black belt means that you're learning to have a gun, and you're learning how to take this gun apart and putting it back. Once you learn how to take that gun apart and put it together, when you open up that chamber, you have to earn the right for those bullets to put in that chamber. You know why? Because you're responsible for that. As black belts, all of you, you're responsible for that. So the technique, and you hit somebody, and you do some damage to them, and you say, I was just playing. Or if I hit him, oh, I'm sorry. That's after the fact. I still hit him. Sorry doesn't mean anything. I just hit him. So that means if you earn the chamber, the bullets in those chambers, and you close it, you're responsible for that. You're responsible for that knowledge. Okay? So you have to choose wisely on what you do. Your choices are important as black belts because everybody watches you. Hey, you learn to be good leaders. You learn to be inspirational. Others are watching saying, I want to be like that. I want to do that. You become heroes. You're learning how to be heroes. But to be heroes means you have to have that knowing, that self-confidence in yourself. That's what black belts is about. It's about having that knowing of confidence, of having that knowing that, hey, I own the material and I can do it without thinking about it. I used to get mad. How many here still get mad? Raise your hand. Okay, that's good because you know what? What we get mad about sometimes, how many here get mad for petty stuff? Little things that are petty, we get mad about them. Okay, so, and if you do, that means that we need to release a lot of that stuff that is still angry in you. We need to release that. How do we heal that kind of stuff? As a black belt, we should know it's not about learning how to control that, it's learning how to come to terms with it. Come to terms with that kind of emotion of anger. Because you know what follows behind anger? Fear. How many of you have been so angry that you started to get scared of it? How many of you actually are fear? How many of you fear your anger? How many, when you get mad, and you're afraid of it. You say, oh, I don't want to get, I'd rather move away from it because I'm too afraid. If I get mad, and when it clears, I'm going to be sorry for what I say or do. And sometimes doing that is because if you're fearful, anger follows that. As black belts, you should learn, at this point in time, you're learning how to deal with that emotions. You're learning how to release it. Hey, you're learning not to have an eye for an eye concept. Hey, you're learning to understand that sometimes that when people are there, they come for you, I have to look at it that they're here for me. They're putting fear in me, and I get a chance, an opportunity to not be fearful of it. As they say, when the dark enters, the dark comes your way because it gives you a chance to be the light, to put your understanding of truth into this darkness, that you're not afraid of it. So as black belts, we learn how to deal with the emotional part, learning how not to be afraid of things that we're afraid of. Learning how to come to a point where I used to be afraid, but do you know that most of the stuff that we're afraid of, we make up in our head? Our minds become the lighter fluid. It becomes something simple, and then our mind says, but what about this? And then your mind goes, shh, with lighter fluid, and it gets a little bigger. And then, what about this? And then it gets a little bigger. It gets so big in your head, you can't turn it off. So as black belts, we're learning how to deal with ourselves. That's what black belt means to me, learning how to deal with me. So somebody asked me, are you a master? And I said, no. They said, you have to be a master. I said, why? They said, well, because you designed your own technique, you designed your own system and so forth. I said, no, I just learned how to master myself. See, now that I learned to master myself, now I'm into mastery. Now I'm going to go further. But right now, you should learn how to master yourself. Master yourself means learn how to master the emotions that stop you from your better self. As black belts, you should be right now saying, I want to understand. I'm learning self-defense for a purpose, for a reason. I want to learn how to defend myself mentally. I want to learn to defend myself physically, spiritually. I want to defend myself completely. So as black belts, I want to be solid. I don't want to be weak. And when somebody comes in and is fearful, I'm run. I'm a black belt. I should be a solid black belt. I should be not fearful. Yes, there's a lot of things. And for right now, I would be lying to you. Because I used to say once upon a time, I don't fear anything. If I don't fear death, how can I fear man? What are you going to do? Until one day, I said it so many times that my daughter, she was on a dune buggy and she tipped over. And I was with Chuck Norris. We were at a ranch. And they came and told me, and I started running toward her. And I recognized I never had so much fear in my life. And I realized that the fear I had was not so much about me, it was about people that I love. So all of you, just like Sensei and your parents, they love you so much, they're fearful. They want to keep you safe. So myself, I realized that the emotions in me, I need to master that. As a black belt, right now to this point, after all these years, I just learned how to master myself. Now I move on. So you as black belts should learn to turn yourself inside out and look at your truth. Look at yourself. How do you want people to perceive you? Do you want them to see you with strength, with a knowing, with confidence and happiness? Or do you want them to see you fearful, small? So as black belts, you need to understand, being strong characters means you have to start with you. Start with the emotions that's stuck in you. That is the beginning of Shodan, means black belt. First degree is where you should start to practice your power within you. And I guarantee you, all the techniques, that's only 20%. And you realize your power was in you all along. It was all about you. You had the power automatically. Don't give your power away. Your power was given to you. Keep it, that you may be the light, and others will look at you and say, I want to be like that. I want to be just like you. Be inspirational. Be heroes. That is what beginning black belt means to me. So is there anything, other questions?
Pretty much answered everything. So.
That was great. Thank you,
Okay,
Sensei.
so of all of you that are protesting, how many here